Hi guys. Welcome to the first event for the Multicultural Week. I hope you guys have fun, and I hope you guys come to the rest of the week for the upcoming events that we have. Mun Wah is an internationally renowned Chinese-American documentary filmmaker, author, poet, Asian folkteller, educator, community therapist, and master diversity trainer. For more than 25 years, he was a rescue specialist and counselor in San Francisco Unified School District. He later became a consultant to private schools, working with students that had severe learning and behavioral issues. Mun Wah is now the executive director of the Stir Fry Seminars and Consulting, a diversity training company that provides educational tools and workshops on issues pertaining to cross-cultural communication and awareness. Thousands of people from government and social service agencies, corporations, and educational institutions have taken Mun Wah's workshops and partnered with Stir Fry Seminars and Consulting on diversity initiatives. His first film, Stolen Ground, about the experience of Asian Americans, won honorable mention at the San Francisco International Film Festival, and his most famous film about racism, The Color of Fear, won the gold medal for Best Social Studies documentary. Part 2 of his film, Walking Each Other Home, won the Sydney Competition Silver Medal for Social Science. In 1995, Oprah Winfrey did a 1-hour special on Mun Wah's life and work that was seen over 15 years and over 15 million viewers internationally.
In 2005, Mun Wah directed and produced the film Last Chance for Eden, a 3-part documentary on sexism and racism. His newest book, Let's Get Real, What People of Color Can't Say and What Whites Won't Ask, along with the film, If These Halls Could Talk, dealing with the college students and their perspectives on race and racism, were both released in 2011. It is Mun Wah's belief that we cannot wait until tomorrow for some charismatic leader to appear who will bring us together. We each must take a stand and personally participate in this important journey of confronting our fears and beginning a conversation not only with those we love, but also with those that we have been taught to fear. We cannot continue being separate and unequal without there being a cost to each and every generation. Our survival and the very future of our children depend on all of us embracing our differences as well as our mutuality. If we can accomplish this within our lifetime, we can then look back and know that we have found a way to live together authentically and harmoniously, using and honoring all of our gifts and special contributions. To Mun Wah, that is a true meaning of multiculturalism. I now present Mr. Mun Wah.
So, what's your name?
My name is Juan.
Juan?
Yep.
Juan, what was that like for you when I did that just now?
It was very welcoming.
Ooh, what was welcoming about it?
You approached me and asked me my name before you introduced yourself.
Can you hear what he just said? That you asked me my name before you introduced yourself. That interest, huh? Yeah. What was it like for you? What was it like for you, right here? When I walked around, I was really quiet. What was it like for you? And this pensive gentleman here, what's your name?
My name is Troy.
Troy, what was it like for you when I walked around quietly?
即使你这样说，使我很惊讶。
That's the first time I've heard that in 20 years. So for the people who don't speak Mandarin, what would you say it was like for you in English?
You really surprised me with what you asked me or what you told me just before you started your talk.
What did I say to you?
Chinese people are not always on time or something to the effect.
Yeah. And the reason why I said that to him was because he looked at his watch, which was, I thought we started at 7. And I said to him, I just wanted to let you see that Chinese people don't always start on time. Yes.
My wife is always on time.
Yes. I know. You know, the funny thing about Chinese people, to this day, I'm astounded that we are not all alike. You know, I've never met a white person that was alike from someone else who was white. Just like somebody once said to me, do you know John Wong in New York? And I said, do you know Mary Smith in North Carolina? Or someone even once said to me is, what's going on in China today? And I said, I'm not Sarah Palin, I can't see that far. So, you like that one, huh? What was it like for you when I walked around quietly?
I was curious about
Mm-hmm. What's your name?
Frank?
Frank. Good to meet you. So, Frank, what was it like when I went around quietly?
Kind of nerve-wracking.
What was nerve-wracking about it? Oh, yes, you do. Oh, you don't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
You see, I think maybe it's really difficult for males when you don't know what someone's going to do, huh? Yeah. So what were you expecting that I was going to do?
I really don't know, and I think that's what made me like...
I think you actually do know. What does a speaker usually do when they get the microphone?
Like introduce themselves and start talking.
Themselves, start talking. So that's you did know, didn't you? What was it like when I walked around quietly?
trying to get
You're hoping I'm not going to look at you. What was it like when I walked around? What is your name? What was that?
Anthony.
Anthony. So Anthony, what was it like when I walked around quietly?
Kind of awkward.
What was awkward about it?
Staring at everyone.
I was staring at everyone. So here I am wanting to see you instead of talking at you. And it's awkward, huh? Because a lot of people just get started talking even if they don't even see you or notice you. You ever watch people talk sometimes and they aren't necessarily connecting to you? Yeah. What was it like for you?
I was wondering whether you were counting how many people were in the audience.
Yeah, because Chinese people are really good at math. We always want to know how many. And, oh, you like that, huh? And what was it like for you?
I thought you were looking for someone.
I was looking for somebody. I lost my partner. And let's try this gentleman way over here. It's a cool looking gentleman. He's trying to look really cool right now. And what is your name?
Girlfriend.
Your girlfriend. My God, it's so wonderful to meet you. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. This sounds like that movie Her, right? I know. It really was weird, wasn't it? Sounds like a lot of dates I've been on. Anyway, so what was it like for you when I walked around quietly?
It was, I don't know, peaceful, I guess. I don't know.
Peaceful.
Quiet.
It was quiet. Uh-huh. Did you like that it was quiet and peaceful, the way to start that way?
I guess. Wasn't bad.
A little bit?
It's not a bad way. I mean, usually everybody starts with something big.
Something big. You didn't think that was big when I walked around like that?
It made an impact.
An impact, yes, it did. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that in the past 7 minutes, or 7.3 minutes as I've been walking around, he's keeping track, for the past 7.3 minutes, I have been consciously and purposefully practicing sexism. Oh, she's going, oh, yes. So those people who took my last workshop, please don't say anything. So what did I do that was sexist? What is one thing that I did was sexist? Yes, would you mind standing? What did I do?
You didn't ask any of the females for their names.
Not one single woman did I ask you your name. Please raise your hand if you did not notice that. Raise your hand. Wow, here we are at a diversity workshop. Look at all these women who didn't even notice that I did that. Please raise your hand if you did notice that I did that. Ooh, look at all these pissed off women and men here. Mostly on this side, huh? All right, what else did you like this. What else did I do that was sexist? Yes, would you mind standing? I like those boots, okay.
You like turned around like when we were like talking to you?
Every single woman who was talking, I walked away from them. See how physical I got? Please raise your hand if you noticed that. Please raise your hand if you did not notice that. Some people are going, oh God, yes. Okay. All right. Some people are going, whoa, this is getting interesting. What else did I do that was sexist? Did I see a hand way back here? What else did I do that was sexist? Yes, would you mind standing? Every single guy who I talked to, I engaged them. Every single woman, I didn't even look at them, talk to them, or anything, or say anything about what they said. Please raise your hand if you did not notice that I did that. Please raise your hand if you did notice that I did that. Okay. Now, the question is, for those of you that notice that I did one or more of those things, please say your hand. Raise your hand if you stand up. If you notice that I did one or more sexist thing, you did notice that. Raise your hand. I mean, stand up, excuse me. It's late at night. I've been doing this too much. All right. Now the question becomes this. Why didn't you say anything? These were happening to other women, happening to men. How come you didn't say, hey, that's sexist? You don't look like you get anyone to push you around. Now, why didn't you say something? What's your name?
I'm Heather.
Heather, why didn't you say something?
The workshop.
Oh, that's... All right. So why didn't you say, you look like you're tall enough to say something. Why didn't you say something?
I think I had two kind of reels running. One where I thought, I think there's some kind of disparity here, but I'm also sort of like thinking about what I'm going to say if you talk to me. So, and that's kind of consuming up, I think, my own like kind of anxiety. Am I going to say like the right thing? And so.
He's got a lot going on in his head, huh?
I have more than one, like two reels going on in my head. Yeah.
So he's doing this whole dialogue, and sometimes when you have a whole dialogue in your head, the whole moment goes right by. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand. Yeah. Anybody else? Why didn't you say, you saw me do this to you. Why didn't you say something?
I don't know, it was just kind of awkward.
It was awkward? In what way?
I don't know, because I was just talking, you just turned around. So I was like, okay, I guess I should stop talking.
Good. In other words, you see what you did? Oh, I'll just stop talking. Women get very internalized with it. You pick up the cues, I'll just stop talking. Anyone else? Why didn't you stop me? Mr. Cool, why didn't you stop me?
I don't know, you didn't want to seem rude.
You didn't want to seem rude. Uh-huh. Please raise your hand if that's what you felt too. You didn't want to feel like you would be rude. Okay? You have your hand raised up.
I was just saying, I almost said something, I almost talked back to you, but I didn't.
I know. So what held you back? You don't look like the type. Look at those gloves you got on. Like you're ready to go. That Michael Jackson look, like I'm going to handle this. Why didn't you do it?
Because I didn't want to seem disrespectful.
Disrespectful held you up for a few moments. Anybody else? Yes. Ah.
I thought there was some kind of strategy involved with it. Because I figured this is a workshop on this, and so...
So he was really trying to figure me out. Is this going to be some strategy that he's got in mind?
Yes.
What if I were to tell you that actually there are lots of different reasons? How many women have ever been in this, who ever had a situation where you were ignored, or you said something that was trivialized, or a guy said the same thing and everyone paid attention? Please raise your hand if you ever had that experience. Yeah. The number one reason that women say is that they don't say anything is because oftentimes is what's new. This happens all the time. But I would actually like to propose something much deeper and perhaps much sadder. When the President of the United States was told by a congressman, "You lie," at the State of the Union message, could you please tell me which person in that room, other than the President of the United States, got upset and said something? What was that? No one said a word. Not even the Vice President, not even the Supreme Court Justice, not even the Speaker of the House, not even John L. Lewis, who walked next to Martin Luther King. Not even he said anything. In fact, what I'd like to propose is that we don't have a whole lot of models of someone standing up and saying something. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand. Not a whole lot of models for it happening. What I'd also like to propose to you is ask you this question. When President Barack Obama was told by this congressman, "You lie," for a $500 certificate, what did President Barack Obama say? And ladies and gentlemen, he did say something. Please raise your hand if you know what he said. No guessing. Only if you knew what he said. See, that's the difference, isn't it? Yeah, so many things happened, Tom. Do you remember what President Barack Obama said? Do you remember what? Yeah, you don't. Yeah. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why we don't remember, because it was, even he did not know what to say. But he did say something. But not only that, before I get to what he did say, what was amazing about it is that as that man had said it and President Barack Obama said something back, the congressman took out his cell phone, text, and was laughing in front of the president as he was texting. And you may not know it, but he was a fill-in as a congressman because someone else was sick or whatever. His fundraising donors went up after he said that. Ladies and gentlemen, what President Barack Obama said was, and by the way, I want you to imagine a person texting, yelling at you in front of the American people, and then President Barack Obama had to read his speech for the next 30 minutes. Raise your hand if you think it was probably the hardest speech of his whole life. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you were in his position. It would have been really hard for you too to complete a speech after someone had done that. How many of you, by a raise of hands, thought it was disrespectful, dishonorable? The question is, what would you have said, huh? President Barack Obama simply said, "No, I did not." And then he looked down and he continued to read his speech. I wonder if any of you talked about this in your class. I wondered if you might have thought what it might have been like to be African American and to have seen the president treated like that. What you would have thought about yourself and your people. Right? See the faces that she has here? And when you don't even talk about it in your classes, what does that do? And so today, when I begin this conversation with you, it may have been a little bit fun doing the sexism one with you. I walked around the room because I wanted to see you. I wanted to look at each of you because I always wondered why in the Western culture we don't look at people when we talk to them. I always wondered how people could talk about diversity and not really see you, as you talked about, to really see you and talk and to connect. And that's partly why I did it. But I also wanted to show you, as you studied that speech, is How does it feel when you get frozen and you don't know what to say, when you see injustice? I think that's why when Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy were shot and assassinated, and in my lifetime, just very soon before that, John F. Kennedy, I was going to go into law. I was going to go into government. And I was so shattered when they died. I wondered where our leaders were going to come from. And so today, what I want to share with you is, you've got to learn to stand up and say something. Because if you don't, the moment goes by, doesn't it? And today, even as you're sitting in this room to get ready to see an important film that I've done, I want you to know that this film broke my heart. It is my last film. I think it's perhaps my best film I've ever had. I think that you young people have a lot to say. But something came up for me why I did it it's because I thought after all these years after I did my film, The Color of Fear, I thought it would be better by now. And what I've learned is, just because you're all sitting in this room together, just because you see all different cultures in this room, it doesn't mean you actually have a relationship with each other. It's just a room filled with people of all different cultures. It doesn't mean you're connected. To be connected means you're going to have to talk to each other, to get to know each other. So please have a seat. Please raise your hand if you could tell me, what is the definition of diversity to you? What does that mean? Right here with a beautiful scarf and earrings. Your name is? A lot came up for you just now, huh? Yeah. What does diversity mean to you? Would you pass the microphone, please?
Oh, sure. Well, diversity means I guess, variety of different cultures living together, I think. I mean, I think that's the best. That's what it should be, anyway. I think that's what it should mean.
Notice how she's saying that? That's what it should be. That's the subtext is, we may not be there, huh? Different cultures coming together. How many of you believe that diversity is about respecting differences in other people of all different cultures? Raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you think that the goal of diversity is for people who are all different to get to know each other. Raise your hand. Great. Now take a look at who you're sitting next to. And maybe if you see that somebody else is somewhere, next to you who you don't know, notice if there might be one or more seats between you and this person. And then to make sure that they don't sit there, you might have started piling some things in the chair. See how she's moving over a little bit? And by the way, you know what I think is? We hope that we get diversity that'll just come right up to and go, "Hi, I want to meet you. Hello." That somehow it'll come up to your front door, into your neighborhood, into your favorite restaurant and park, and come meet you. Or maybe you think that just once a year you go see a film, or you come to a diversity workshop, or have a holiday like Black History Month, or Chinese New Year, or Cinco de Mayo, that somehow that is a way of coming together. You see, I strongly believe that we have this mythology that diversity is simply clothing, food, and music, or dancing. Well, the truth of it is, I'm far more than that. I'm more than Bruce Lee. I'm more than Chinese New Year. I'm more than the dragon, or whatever that might be. And a visit through Chinatown eating our foods is not enough. The truth of it really is, if you want to get to know me, you're going to have to hang out. And these seats that are sitting between you could be 1,000,000 miles away. And those laptops and cell phones you might have on are another way to keep you further and further away. So what I'd like to propose to you today is that President Clinton had a national dialogue on race, and not one single person talked to each other. Isn't that amazing? They call that they simply talk to a panel. And I noticed that. So I wrote to President Clinton. I said, "Dear Bill," I wanted to get a little personal. "Dear Bill, I noticed that no one's talking at these workshops things you're having. I also noticed it's just talking to a panel. And then the panel goes back to you, and as a white person, you get to decide whether or not to continue them. You know, Bill, we call that a wonderful plantation system." Well, of course, Bill was a little interested in my letter, so he sent 2 folks down to come talk to me. And what I discovered is that Bill wanted to actually even have the black folks write a book on the national conversation in race so he could put his name on it, which I thought was very interesting. Now, they were all ready to go back to talk to Bill about having this conversation, and then a young woman by the name of Monica Lewinsky came around, which then I was hoping that President Clinton would talk about sexism, which was a great opportunity, wasn't it? But what I'd like to propose to you is that we've made some attempts to talk, but not really. And I personally believe today you could watch this film and never once get to meet Juan. Can you hear that? And Juan will never get to meet you. And so today what I'd like you to do is, you might be saying to yourself, "Ooh, I'm comfortable, got me a good seat, sitting next to my partner here." Well, that's what you always do. In fact, I went into your cafeteria this afternoon. You know, Jesse Jackson was dead wrong. The most segregating time in America is not on Sunday, it's in your cafeteria. How many of you know exactly what I'm talking about? Yep. It's all sitting there. And what do our faculty do sometimes? Hope that someday you'll find a way to get along. Maybe even have you to work on a project together. But when you look in your classrooms, you're all sitting by your groups, aren't you? So today, let's see if we can end that, huh? Everybody please stand. Boy, she looks like she's all huddled in with all her blankets and jackets here. Okay. Now, everybody on this side, take a good look at all these people here. All these people over here, take a look at all these beautiful people over. Turn your bodies, take a good look at them. It must be really cold in here for you, huh? No kidding. Look, she's got all her jackets and everything. She's all prepared. Okay, now take a good look. Because what I'm going to tell you is this is very important. Years from now, maybe as much as 4 or 5 years from now, maybe even for some of you have already reached that place where you're in your profession. But in the years from now, from here on, you're going to be in rooms. You may find the profession you love. But one day I hope that you look at who is in your workplace. I hope someday that you will look in your boardroom, your faculty, the workplace you're in, and I hope that you notice who is not teaching you, who has not been the president or on the board of directors. That close to 80% of the companies in the United States, the top 100 executives, don't look like any of you in this room, except for white males. I remember when I was working with American Express, they said, "We got one black, he's our black president in American Express." And I said, "Wonderful. Could you show me the ethnic breakdown of all the rest of the people who work for American Express, the top 100 executives?" And you know what they said to me? "I'm sorry, we don't give that data out." Which meant what? There probably weren't any women, and there probably weren't any other people of color. And for those of you who have heard about affirmative action has mostly benefited who? Who is the major benefactor of affirmative action? You're a ventriloquist. That's incredible. I didn't see you do that. White women are the major benefactors of affirmative action, contrary to what most people think. And so today when you begin, I want you to notice who is not in this room. Who is not in this room? Take a good look. What ethnic group do you think is not in this room? All right, let me have some fun with you. How many Asians do you think? I always got to ask that. How many Asians are in this room, do you think? Yell out a number. 7. I don't know isn't an answer. How many do you think? 4? 3. We're getting less. 2. How many do you think? Okay. Those people who are Asian or have that as part of your heritage, please raise your hand. And Juan, would you mind counting how many?
6, 7, and 8, including you.
Be how many?
8, including you.
8, including me. Keep your hands up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a good look at these people because Asians are the majority in the world. We are the majority in the world. Now, not only on top of that, the advantage of finding out that Asians are the majority in the world, it allows you white folks to apply for minority scholarships. No, I'm just joking. But I said that because when was the last time you were told that you were the majority in the world?
Me, never.
Never. Yeah. Do you know the first time I heard that, I went like this. Cool. My whole body changed. Can you hear that? But there was something else that came up. I went to Hong Kong when I was about 38 years old. And when I stepped into Hong Kong, wow, I can't say it without getting emotional, it was. I saw a billboard with an Asian person on it. Can you hear that? I saw a billboard with an Asian person on the billboard. I'd never seen that. I turned on the television, Home Depot, and there was an Asian person for Home Depot. I saw the CEO of a company, and it was an Asian person. I saw a dramatic series on television of a family that was dramatic, and it was an Asian family. I had not realized in all of my life I had never seen that. I went into a card store, and I saw a Valentine, Father's Day, anniversary, graduation, funeral card with an Asian person on the card. And I had never seen that in my whole life. I want you to think about, did you notice I was missing? Did you notice I wasn't there? And when you even hear me now, what does it feel like now, Sonny, to go, I've never seen a birthday card with an Asian picture on there? Or my black girlfriend once said to me 7 years ago, Mun Wah, it's Valentine's. I want you to find a card with your picture on it and mine, and don't come back unless you do. Well, that was 7 years ago, but I never could find it. And I cried because I didn't know I was missing. That's why I said to you, will you notice who's missing? And will you say something, huh? Like, where are they? How many American Indians do you think are in this room right now? Yell out a number. 3, 6, 8. Who said 8? On a really good day. So let's find out. Either part American Indian or American Indian. Please raise your hand if you're American Indian or have that as part of your heritage. Please raise your hand. Would you count for me again, Juan? On a really good day, huh? 9. So keep your hands up, because you may not have even known they were American Indian. Do you know what tribe? Blackfoot Indian. Anyone else? Anyone else? A little louder. Ooh, cool. Yes. Anyone else? Cherokee. Did I miss anybody else over here? Ooh, Ooh, beautiful. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you when we met the first American Indians. Anybody know a guy named Lewis and Clark? They went around the whole United States renaming everything. That's a joke. What's the name of that lake? Oh, okay, we'll rename it. Anyway, they came across a group of American Indians who spoke Spanish. And through an interpreter, they asked, "Why are you speaking Spanish?" And you know what the American Indians said? "Why, to welcome the new people coming." What a novel idea, to learn another language to welcome the new people coming. What does this country do? It demands that when you come to this country, you learn English because it's American. Not only do we make sure that you learn it, we'll make it a law. We'll make it the language of the United States. Now that's good to hear, isn't it? Except when we go abroad, we demand the rest of the world speak English. Do you know how many people get pissed when they go to Japan that all those street signs aren't in English? And then on top of that, when we feel lost, we create Club Meds so that we won't have to meet the people when we go there. We'll get all the hamburgers and the clean water that we expect. Isn't it funny? We carry our Americanism wherever we go. Do you know what the joke to the rest of the world is? Monolingual equals American. Embarrassing, isn't it? Yeah, I know, huh? It's all about us, right? Isn't it funny that the abbreviation for the United States is US? And by the way, in the last workshop, many of you were there with me, when I met somebody. Where were you born? Guatemala. What an honor to meet another American. Did you hear what I just said? What an honor to meet another American. And so, Juan, in all the years that you have been here, how many other people have ever said that to you?
No one. No. I've never heard that before.
Take a good look. As if the only Americans are here. Canadians, Mexicanos, Peruvians, Brazilians, all those are Americans. And yet we think the only word American is here. You see how we've come and missed the whole rest of the world, huh? How did it feel when I said that to you?
It felt good.
Take a good look at his face. Did you see that? It felt good. And you know what's so amazing about it? You said Guatemala, right? Mm-hmm. So is my son. My son is adopted from Guatemala. And when he was little, his name is Joaquin. And when he was little, he didn't quite know how to say it. So they said, "How do you say Joaquin?" And he goes, "Joaquin." He was so cute. But my greatest fear is his name is Joaquim Rodas Levandiwal. And my greatest fear was this country was going to call him JR instead of Joaquin. But your name is Juan, isn't it? Not John. Yeah, huh? And how many folks in this country have ever asked you, Juan, do you know any words in Spanish that I could learn?
It's the first question I'm always asked. How do you say this in Spanish?
How do you say this in Spanish? And how does that feel when someone says that to you?
You kind of just get used to it over the years, but at first, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that anymore.
How many of you get that he was a little bit embarrassed? Yeah. You could pick that up, huh? Why were you a little bit embarrassed about that?
Because they once you meet someone and they ask you where you're from, that's the first question that comes to mind. Just, do you speak that language or not? They don't care about who you are or your personality, just where you come from.
Yeah. Can you hear that, everyone? And you know something? When I was working with 600 graduating nurses, and they wanted to get to know somebody's ethnicity, I said, "Show me how you do it." And this is what 600 graduating nurses in St. Paul, Minneapolis did. What are you? Please raise your hand if you have had people come up to you and go, "What are you?" Please raise your hand. Take a good look, including one. And some of you might be going, "I do that." Okay? Then if you tell them you're an American or you're just Juan, they go, "No, who are you really?" Right? How many of you know that one? Who are you really? It's this really funny thing that goes on here. But you know the funniest thing or saddest thing about it is? This is what they do. "What are you?" So just tell me what it is. "What are you?"
I'm Guatemalan.
They do this. They hear it and they simply walk away. So what's missing, Juan?
Who are you?
Like even, how about this? "Hi." See this part? Even missing here. Getting to know him. Or maybe the other one is, "Hey, by the way, what is your ethnicity?" So share it.
Hispanic, Latino.
Guatemalan?
Guatemalan.
Okay. Now the one thing that he's not used to doing with me if I happen to be white is this. "What are you?" Say it.
What are you?
That nowhere in there, the person who asked shared theirs. And you're not used to asking them, "What are you," huh? Or "Who are you?" You see, ladies and gentlemen, I even talked to the chancellor or president of this college, and nobody of the faculty or staff knew her European heritage. And when I talked to her about, she was just wonderful today in our workshop for 4 hours today, is that nothing in her office is symbolic of her culture. How many of you have white teachers? Raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you know their ethnicities, their European heritages in which they talk about it. Share it. Which class is this?
I think it's my English professor.
And what is his ethnicity?
It's a she.
She.
She's, I believe, I don't want to get it wrong.
But you did share it to the class.
Yes.
And what did it feel like for you to hear a professor share that?
It made me think that she values more than just, I'm American or I'm white. She values everything.
Wow. I'm going to guess that if she values her culture, she would probably also then value yours. You see that? You see how it works together? Do you know why some of you may not know your European heritages? Raise your hand for a $500 certificate, one more try, if you could tell me the European heritage of George Bush, Dick Cheney, Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, any other president other than John F. Kennedy. They didn't tell us, and we didn't ask. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 15 Scottish Irish presidents, 3 German, and 6 black presidents. Please raise your hand if you don't know any one of those categories. How many of you would like to find out who the other 5 black presidents are? Well, you should buy my book over here. But today, before you leave, I'm going to share with you who were the other 5 black presidents. Now, obviously, they're all dead, right? But I will show you a lesson in democracy, the hypocrisy and a mythology we have in this country. This gentleman right here, I love his life. He's very serious. If you love, he's got a great face. The other 5 black presidents are probably dead. Would you please tell me, did you think that they would have been elected president if they told the American people they were black?
I doubt it.
Yeah. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the great lie that I had growing up was all you had to do was get an education, follow the laws, and you too could become the President of the United States if you had good enough experience, etc. But in my lifetime, I will never see a Chinese president. I will never see a Muslim president. I will probably never see a gay president. And that saddens me. because I thought we would all get a chance at it. I'm here today because I want to tell you that unless your generation fights for it, believes that we have not yet achieved the dream until everyone gets a chance, then we have a lot of work to do, don't we? And that work can't be just where you're seated. It means you're going to have to meet somebody who's different and get to know them. I loved it when President Barack Obama said, when they kept accusing him of being Muslim, and he goes, I'm not Muslim, I'm not a terrorist. But if I was a Muslim, that's nothing to be ashamed of. How brave of him to say that. Because that last sentence was really important. Even if I were. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that we may call terrorism for all the way we decide to call it, but we are the only nation that dropped an atomic bomb on a civilian population. And I'm curious. We call it saving American lives, but I'm wondering, what if Germany had had the atomic bomb and dropped it on New York? Would we have accepted them simply saying it was to save German lives? Or we call them terrorists, barbarians. And that is the history that we don't talk about. And if you've never seen 12 Years as a Slave, and I really want to encourage you all to see it, not because it's an easy film to see. I wanted to get out of that room 3 times. But when I saw that black man hanging on a tree, at the moment he got off his tiptoes, he would be dead. So he was barely hanging on. And even the slaves who were walking around him, who could have saved him, they couldn't even look up. They wouldn't even look up, because they were scared that they would be hung if they looked up. And if you think that that was only way back then, I just got back 2 years ago from Tennessee, and I had 2 black men help me carry a table in like I did today. But the amazing thing about it, we were in Tennessee, and they worked in the hotel, and they did this. They carried the table like this. And then they said, "Sir, can we look at the table?" And I thought, what? You have to even ask me if you could look at the table? It was 2012. Can I look at the table? And that's what you see in 12 Years as a Slave, huh? Master, can I look at you? Can I get this water? Can I go here? So make no mistake, it's alive and well around you. And you will never know if it's true or not unless you meet someone who's different than you. And so what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you, without saying a single word, you're going to pair it with somebody who's different. I don't care what that difference is, and who you don't know. Now, I know you could fake me out and go, come on, let's not move. And we took a long time to find these seats. But then you're just going to be doing the same thing. You're never going to meet somebody different. So I'd like you to try and find somebody different in this room. And guess what? You're being filmed. So we'll know if you're really doing it. No, I'm just kidding. She's going, oh my, really? Okay, so you're going to find somebody who's different and who you don't know, and guess what? This is going to be the best part of the workshop, trust me, okay? Now, I know some of you are going like this. Where's the exit? Now, you want to take a good look at Sammy back there. You have to get past Sammy, okay? All right, so everybody, pair up with somebody you don't know and who's different. Take your things with you and all your blankets and jackets, and pair it with somebody you don't know and who's different. Don't words at all. Find your partner. Raise your hand if you don't have a partner. And then keep it up and walk toward that person. Walk toward that person. Sit down with them. Find your partner and sit down with them. Shh. No words at all. Only a group of 2. Raise your hand if you don't have a partner. Look at all these people have their hands up. I guarantee you the last 2 people know each other. I don't know how it turns out. Good. Keep looking around. There's some people over here. Someone who's different. There could be any difference. Great. Now, is anybody secretly, quietly sitting by yourself? Is any secretly, quietly in a group of 3? Now, if you're in a group of a pair, make sure you're at least 1 seat away from another pair. That way you'll have some privacy. Now, turn and face your partner totally. Take a good look at him. Don't look at me, look at your partner. Now, when I did my newest film, the students talked about walking into classrooms and everybody's in groups and they're walking down the aisle like this. Same thing in the cafeteria. You ever walk through that cafeteria? You're looking at, where am I going to sit? Okay? And by the way, you'll always see a student sitting by themselves. And do you know something? Every shooter in our schools who shot up our schools were people who were usually isolated and loners, bullied and teased. And as I was sharing with the faculty today, the saddest one was at the last university I went at. I went outside during the break. It was really warm, and I was just sitting outside. And then I had a funny feeling as I was sitting there, and I kept saying, it feels funny right here. And then one of the students came out and says, are you okay? And I said, I don't know, I get a really weird feeling right here. And he started crying, and I said, what are you crying about? He said, a gay student who was bullied and teased jumped off the building and committed suicide just last week. And I have heard this so many times. Over 26 students under 16 of years age, the youngest one of 10, have committed suicide for being bullied and teased, for being gay, being black, being poor, being different, too many tattoos. Why do I have you pair up? Because, oh my gosh, if your generation doesn't start to talk to someone who's different, you keep talking to people who look just like you. And you know something? Your families teach you that too. I used to watch my father sitting next. We'd all be sitting there in a theater, and then a black person would come by and sit. I used to watch my father grab our things and put it one place else. Or maybe you hear this one. Honey, you're all in the car. Everybody, roll your windows, lock the doors up. And then we looked out what neighborhood they were talking about. How many of you know exactly what I'm talking about? And then you suddenly see them at school, right? Then it's kind of like, all that happens. Your parents didn't have to say any epithet, any racial epithet. You just knew when you looked out. How many of you know in this fair city what neighborhoods not to go into? Every city's got one, huh? And who are those people? I live in Oakland. That's where I was born. Woo, people call that the most violent city in America. But you know something? It wasn't that way before. I'm not older than you, you might have guessed. But when I was young, when I was only about 10 years old, there was this whole stretch in Fruitvale Avenue in Oakland, California. White people lived there in middle-class homes. I remembered it because it was in 1956. The white realtors went around and said this, you need to start selling. They're coming. The black people are coming. And what does that mean? The black and Latinos are coming. What does that mean about property values? They're going to go down. And what did the white folks do? White flight up the hills. And overnight, within 2 or 3 years, Oakland was vacant of white people on the flatlands. Funny how that turns out, huh? You know, all I can say is, how sad, huh? Yes. Do you mind taking this?
No, I just thought it was funny the way you said that. Like they said, "Oh, let's everyone leave. Like the black people are coming, or the Latinos are coming." It's like it was a plague that was coming to take over the whole town. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not just that. This is a story I rarely tell, but the president of the National Realty Association, I was doing a keynote there, and he was white, something different. And what happened was, I had a black speaker who was going to introduce me. And what happened was, the president of the National Realty Association came up to me and said, "Mr. Lee, I'm really looking forward to your speech." And I looked at him and I said, "No, you're not." Exactly. And the black guy who was sitting next to me was going to introduce me. Went, "Oh my God, what did he do? That's the president of the National Realty Association." And then the president looked at me and said, "And what makes you think I'm nervous?" And I said, "Because the left side of your lip was quivering when you said that to me. I think you're really scared about what I'm going to say." And you know what he said is, "I'm not scared what you're going to say. I'm scared what the black and Latinos realtors are going to say after they hear your speech." And then what happened was, do you have a piece of paper I can borrow? So what happened was, the African-American guy who was going to introduce me had his speech, how to introduce me, just like some folks did today. And when he got up, he went like this. After listening to Mun Wah, I can't read this out. I'm one of the top salesmen in the realty business, and I'm African-American. And I want to look at the president, and I want to look at this realty association and tell you, when I have a home and I go into a black family's home to sell, I am told by this realty to take out everything that's black out of the home. No pictures, no art that's black. I'm told to take it out of the home completely. If it's a Latino family, I'm told to empty out the house of anything that indicates that it's Latino. Now, why did the Realty Association ask them to do that? Anybody know? Yes.
It wouldn't taint the property, basically.
Remember the word you just used, like taint. But there's another deeper reason, isn't there? So that people want to buy the home. Why don't they want them to know it's a black or Latino family? Because why?
Because the myth that it will lower the value of the neighborhood on all the comps.
Ladies and gentlemen, families will buy a house as much as $100,000 more if they find out it's not a black or Latino family, but a white family. How many of you never knew this? Raise your hand. How many of you think it would have been so hard for those Latino and black realtors to ask that black or Latino family to do that? Please raise your hand. How many of you have ever had that happen to you or your family? Yeah. Wow. Would you mind standing? And your name again is?
Kenechukwu Okosa.
And what was that like when that happened?
It kind of it makes you not want to be what you are, I guess. So it kind of removes you from the equation, and I didn't like it. To be completely honest, instead of trying to articulate it, just the feeling was not okay. You don't feel like yourself. You don't feel like you're good enough to be sold. I guess that's a weird way of putting it, but you just don't feel good enough to be a part of something.
Take a good look at him. Please raise your hand if you know him. Please raise your hand if you knew this happened to him. And I'm going to ask you something. How many of you could tell the hurt in his voice? How many of you can hear the anger? Actually, I couldn't. And the reason why I want you to pay close attention is, in this film you're going to see tonight, the African-American student says, how come I can't show hurt? I can't seem to show hurt and anger at the same time. Today, you and I had a conversation, huh?
Yeah, we did.
He said, sometimes I think I'm just shy. And I said, no, I think you keep your feelings inside because it's safer. And in the film, you're going to hear a black young woman say to the black student, I hope someday I get to see this other side of you, that you haven't lost that tender side of you. And that's what I said to you today, huh?
Yep.
Because he thinks it was just a personality thing. I think society makes sure that black men don't get to fully express who they are, and many other minorities. And that's why today I shared with you this story, because there are so many things you're protected from in this community, in the world you live. And when you talk to this person next to you, you may hear things that you're going, what? You may not even believe it. You may even question them. But just because you don't believe something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so today, sitting next to this person, you may hear a world that you never thought about, never even knew existed. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a world outside of Rhode Island. There's a world outside of this campus. Today I was in, what building was that? I had never seen a room like that. How many of you have never seen a room quite like that one? And sometimes you go, whoa, is this how the rich live? How many of you thought that? Like, what am I doing here? Wow, this is out of my league. Yeah. It's like a world you've never seen. And that's exactly what sometimes you'll have to do, is come outside of your world. And so what I'd like you to do with your partner is, I'd like you to ask your partner, what is their name? What is their real name? I'd like you to ask your partner, why are you here tonight? Why did you come? What did you hope to learn? Or maybe even, what did you pray that might happen tonight? Can you hear that? You know what I mean, huh? That sometimes we come to diversity workshops because we have a prayer. And you know what I think it is? It's that saying I used to say, will today be the day? Will today be the day that this country gives you hope? Or this school, or this person? How many of you know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand. Hoping that today might be that day. Take a good look at the people who came in here today. And that's why I came to your campus. Will today be the day that you truly want to look at this issue and to talk about it? So turn to your partner. Here's your chance to get to know who this person is. Some of you are going, I've been wanting to talk to this person a long time. Okay, ready, begin, introduce yourself, and share, why did you come here tonight? Really, what did you hope to get out of tonight? Ready, begin.